High Vibe homies. Welcome back to the High Vibe Home Podcast. I am so excited to be here with you all once again for another lovely episode. And this time I brought on another guest. We have Lori Rising. Yes, Lori Rising is with us today. And I'm so excited to introduce you all to Lori. Lori and I met through a container that we're both in called Elevate with our mentor, Christopher Plow. And he's our launch strategist. And little shout out to Christopher here. But we connected and thought, hey, let's do a little pod swapping and chat on some of the things that we love to explore. So, welcome to the show, Lori.
Oh, thank you so much, Nixie. I'm stoked to be here. Yes, especially at this beautifully divine time that's unfolding for us.
Right? It's a big, big time. And we're going to talk about that today. Lori, just for those of you that are new to her world, Lori is a transformational mentor, speaker, and spiritual guide who catalyzes deep, are you ready for it? Cellular liberation, people. Come on. I mean, who else does this? In those that are ready to exit the healing loop and embody their divine brilliance, not tomorrow, but right now. So, welcome to the show. She's also an astrologer. So, we're going to get into some of the things that are going on from both the more Western astrology and also in the Chinese astrology and what's happening for 2026. So, let's dive on in. First of all, Lori, what do you necessarily do to stay in like a high vibe state? Let's start with that question. What is your high vibe rituals that you begin your day with and your day? I want to know, what are you doing to keep your frequency up in these times?
Oh, baby, I love this question because here's the deal. This is a way of life. We've been sold this BS that something should just be automatic or have an immediate gratification to it. It's also created really short attention spans and made us very unfocused. And when you actually realize that this is an unfolding and there's no end, even when this little vehicle, this body ends, there's no end. We're energy and we just change form. Then you actually start to step into how dynamic and beautiful this experience gets to be because you become part of the cycles and seasons instead of just a one and done mentality. So this is my jam. It's my question. I love it. It's all about those rituals. It's like a ritualistic life. It's not one meditation. It's how do you show up in your everyday moments? Because that's what I talk to, especially the people in my world about is this is about the refinement of your moments. That's the mastery. But if we continue to separate ourselves and we fracture ourselves believing like, okay, I have to have this time to do this, and then I go back to life and do this that way. Like you can even just feel me saying that one sentence. It feels confusing and it feels exhausting. And so my day is filled with ritual, right? Like from the moment I wake up, no Wi-Fi. My phone is on airplane mode. I don't turn it on until I've at least had a beautiful engagement with the morning, with the sun, with the vitamin D, with the light, taking my dog out and moving my body and creating that energy, right? That wake up of my energy for my day. And I sit down and I have my cup of beautiful tea. I have that warmth. I go out into my trees. Like there's so many things that happen before I even plug in. And that's probably one of the biggest rituals of all that I feel like we've become so plugged in that we don't even know what it feels like to not be plugged in. And so, then it just moves through my day. When I start to feel stagnant or I've been on the computer too long or I've been engaged in work too much, then I feel it in my body. I listen. I listen to my body. So then I get up and I go outside, even if it's for 5 minutes. I go out, I do breath of fire, I hug a tree, like I walk through my trees, whatever it is, I just go. I jump on my rebounder, I move the energy. So, there's so many more that I could share with you. But what I would say, because I do ritual in my world, this is my soul medicine that I offer with the people in my world. But what I will say is I listen to the energy. That's probably the biggest ritual of all. And I let the energy guide me, not the supposed to. What about
Hmm.
you?
Oh girl. I love, first of all that you're putting down. Like, yes, to your life being a ritual, that it's not just a meditation, one and done. It's like a way of being, it reminds me a lot like a diet. It's why diet don't necessarily work because it's like a do it and then it's done. But oh my goodness, for me lately, because I'm in Costa Rica and I wake up to the birds and this rooster now. We've got a little rooster next to me. And so it wakes me up pretty early, like 5:30 is my normal waking hours these days. And for me, it's just now getting outside and going on a walk in the jungle with the dogs and my cat and just being in nature. And that has been such a sweet ritual for me to start my day because I feel grounded going into the day. I feel like my nervous system is ready to take on my busy world, here online and also just offline. I think that it's really important for me, just as I've learned more about myself, is how much nature I need in my life to feel like I can keep my vibration high because I always know that that's my church, that's my temple, that's my place that I can find what I need to feel like I can take on anything in the world because I got Mama Earth behind me.
Under
Thanks for
you,
asking.
within you, all of it. Like, here's the
Right,
deal.
right.
I love this so much because this is kind of one of my jams that I share with people. It's like we overcomplicate everything because we've attached learning to everything. We don't actually have to learn. We don't have to learn how to human, how to like be here in high vibration because we came in that way. We've just created a lot of density on top of it. And so it's like breaking free, really
Mm,
releasing the suppression that has happened so that we remember, we reawaken that, right?
mhm,
And so I love what you're talking about with nature because it's true for everyone. So for me, I really share evolutionary truth, right? Like that's always been my thing. I came in as a star seed. I knew we were divine. I knew that we could levitate. I started levitating in my 20s. It was nobody ever shook that belief for me, and that's how powerful we are, right?
beautiful.
And
Yeah.
so how did we come in and function really, really well? We didn't have these structures around us. We didn't sit inside these boxes all day long breathing stale air. We actually lived our life in nature, and nature guided us. The cycles and seasons of nature guided us. And then we created structures to actually, at least protect us from the elements to sleep in. Right. And it's like we flipped that on its head. And now look at where we're at. So, how can I feel like from what you shared and what I shared, a great question is how can we stop overcomplicating it? How can it be more simple? Like literally, you go outside, like you said, and listen to the bird song. You're meditating, period. The end. There's no more freaking story to it. That's it. You're
Mm,
meditating. You don't have to go and take a class and figure it out. Just listen. Be in that
yeah.
frequency.
100%. I mean, that part about just listening is a really big shift I've made in my life over the last, like, I would say a couple years, just slowing my life down on the exterior. Like, I feel like my business and what I do, who I be, and like who I show up is, it becomes very like buzzy. So I need the times to just listen, to go within, to go into nature and to be there. And I think that that's really my saving grace. I'm sure many of the listeners here also feel that way. And also because I love and obsess with feng shui, we literally bring nature into the home through that. So I love what you're putting down. Lori, I'm curious, what does cellular liberation mean for you? Like are you what are you alchemizing within the people that come into your containers and your life? Because that's such a potent statement of like, I'm liberating things on a cellular level. Like, what does that look like for you in your practice and in your work that you do?
Yeah. So like I said, I already started to open that door. I'm so glad that you walked through and you're like, let's see what's in here. When I said that I levitated in my 20s, it actually came from my cells. It came from the liberation of my cells because our body is the most incredible mechanism, vehicle, vessel, technology that has ever lived. And we've been trying to function from the mind. We've been trying to control everything from the mind, and that has delayed us It's delayed our own technology. And so I was blessed enough to have my path take me to my mentor, John Barnes, who just transitioned from his body recently. And I
Mm,
studied with him for over 20 years. And this is where you realize that every experience that you go through is a snapshot in your cells. Not just the experiences that you go through, but your lineage, your parallel lives, all of evolution. Like everything actually lives in your cells. If you look at the universe, it's actually within your cells. That's how, when I was saying nature is within us, we're an extension of it all. And so, what happens when you have an experience, I'm just going to call it an experience, and you have a feeling about that, it becomes a snapshot in yourself because we have something that's called emotional cellular memory. And what happens from there is the determining factor whether that's going to become suffering because you've constricted it within your cell, or if it's going to become an expansion because it has liberated you or, offered this divine wisdom that has excelled you in your own mission. And so, what I do is I speak to your cells, I speak beyond your mind. And especially when I do in person work, like when I do my retreats and things like that, we actually unwind the body, right?
mm,
So, I work in the somatics, I work in the energetics, I work in the mind, and I work in the soul. This is
mm,
the whole of us. And that's where when your cells become liberated, meaning those imprints actually clear from the cells because you find the confidence to release them this time instead of living from them or against them, your cells alchemize into light. Light is always pouring into your cells, but if your cells are too dense to receive it,
mm.
then we're in that restriction, right? We're in that dissonance from within because that becomes that fracture. But when you become the whole and the cells become open, the light is just there. It alchemizes. We don't have to learn ascension or spirituality. We actually just get to live it. We remember it. We reawaken it from within.
Mm.
So, does that make sense how I'm saying that?
Totally. And it just like brought this incredible, I think, question that many of us are like on the edge of our seats wanting to know, like what type of environment or maybe people we surround ourselves or what type of habits or anything at all creates like the dense cellular energy so that we aren't filling ourselves with more light. Like what does that look like? And what have you noticed and observed, with others that have more dense cellular energy going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. This is what I call the gateway drug. Are you ready? Drum roll.
Oh goodness. Yes, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready.
Stress.
Ooh, yes. I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting that actually. I was thinking something different, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. When
Stress.
you're in stress, you're in control and you are stagnant. And I'm sure that this can be applied in feng shui, right? Like I can't wait for you to start throwing down some feng shui wisdoms here. But when you're in control, you're not actually open to release. Because when we open up to be the portal, whatever's inside actually moves through instead of staying stagnant within. And so when you start to look at let's go one step further, and this is where you're going to be like, bah! What's your environment? Is your environment, because you're an energetic sponge, is it catering to stress in your life? Is it catering to the suffering and the stories that you're living from? Because if it is, you will continue to absorb that, and it will be continuing to be normal for you. And so then you normalize a nervous system that is dysregulated. And then you're trying to force a life from there, and that's exhausting. And then you become overwhelmed, and then you become depressed, right? Like your energy becomes depressed, and then you don't even want to participate anymore. Do you see this cycle where it goes?
Oh yeah, girl.
Yeah.
I am so aligned with this in many ways, of course, with how you speak to the environment and the constant stress that is surrounding most of the world's environment, and not just that doesn't even mean just your home. It's also the world, your career, maybe the country, the state, there's so much stress.
Hmm.
But I think that when you're speaking to nervous system regulation, like I didn't really understand what that meant for a very long time. I really thought that I like had it all together and that I wasn't stressed out. But once I removed myself from a situation that was no longer supporting my nervous system to be regulated, and I got to see what the other side was and finally have a regulated nervous system and actually go into environments that were normally stressful for me and to not be stressed. Ooh,
Hmm.
girl. I feel like that's what you're talking about when you have this like cellular shift where whatever comes at us in the world, in the environment, in the outside, like chaos of what's happening in the world, once we have that, like, I think that the actual secret ingredient is having a regulated nervous system in this world. Like, that's it,
Absolutely. That's it.
right?
That's it. How
And
are you
that's
going to
what,
show up for it? That's the
right?
question because many people will have
Mm,
it once, but then they go back, right? Because those neural pathways are really strong, right? So, whatever neural pathway you've created about scarcity, stress, control, you might be able to go into the meditation or do the one thing that you're like, okay, now, or the one vacation a year, whatever it is, right? And then suddenly you go back, but you keep normalizing whatever you're putting most of your attention and energy into, and then seeing it as a treat to get out of that. And that's where we've gone
mm,
so awry by saying, I was a massage therapist for over 20 years. And people would deny themselves this place of healing, health, intimacy, immune support, connection, like all like relaxation, because it was a treat. And it's like, wait a second. Like that feels like a narrative that was placed on us to keep us in stress and fractured and frazzled and overwhelmed. Because when we come together in a regulated nervous system, you know what happens there? Transcendence, unity consciousness, where we come together and we move mountains and we make miracles happen. But when you
mm.
have a whole world of people that are so dysregulated and stressed, it's really easy to control them. Because when people are stressed and in fear, they allow themselves to be controlled, not even consciously, subconsciously, or unconsciously. But when you are regulated, nobody can touch you. I have a great story about this, and I'm wondering about you too, but you come back and you can share if you have something right now.
I mean, I just love what we're talking about because I think that I've been doing a lot of the like year of the horse predictions. And of course, there's like so much coming at us with the shift in energy and the fire. And what came through this last week, honestly, was like such an intensity of my schedule that became really, really like familiar of how busy it was. And I was like, ooh, I remember this like when I lived in LA, I was like go 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 and everything felt, and I remembered what it felt like to be dysregulated again. So I really love how you spoke to how that kind of like it comes in, we understand it, and then some of these things start to show up almost because it's like an addiction,
Mm-hmm.
that rush, the stress, the chaos, I mean, for me personally, working through the story of I don't need my life to be chaotic, busy. Like I am allowed for my life to be easy. That was a big shift for me last year. Part of the shedding for me, the identity of my life gets to be hard. My life has to be this, blah, blah. You fill in the blanks. Like I know many people can relate. So it's also, I think, once that new technology kind of comes in, it's about holding it.
100%, 1,000%. Hold, but it's not just about holding it then. What you just highlighted it. It's about holding yourself through the wobble. So when those neural pathways come back in, it's actually when we can see like, oh, it feels like an addiction. But when you start to shift that belief about it and you see it as an opportunity to solidify the new identity, then you start welcoming
Mhm.
all of the triggers. You start welcoming all of the shadow. You no longer fear it. So you no longer control your life in order not to have it, which actually makes it come more, right? But you actually start to say, bring it on. You get a trigger, you're like, ooh, okay, what's here? Because this is
Yeah.
my next level. This is an opportunity. And that's, I often talk in my business about how I help people turn their triggers into gold, the challenges into opportunities, and from there, your cells just alchemize into light. So, oops, sorry about that. So that's where I feel like
We just had a we just had a ring from the universe.
I
That's
know, it
all.
was like there it is, baby. But yeah, that's where it's like we're so often trying to work from the symptom down, and that's the exhaustion. But when we start to look at the root and nurture the root, then the symptom, which is the observed reality right now, actually shifts all around us. And that's the miracle that comes in. And we don't have to force the shift in the reality. When we really start to get very, bringing it back to the beginning, intentional in a ritualistic life, like how do you refine every moment? You work with the root in every moment rather than let it go and let it start to strengthen again in soil that's no good anymore, right?
I'm kind of obsessed with what you just said. Turning your triggers into gold. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that is literally like a mic drop. And I want to dig into more of what you would say, kind of like that looks like how does somebody turn that into gold? Because that feels a little scary to me. I don't know about you all listening, like turn my triggers into gold. What are you saying? But I'm very curious. I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's a state of consciousness. So if you
Mm,
move from scarcity consciousness or victim consciousness, which is usually our default, because when we come into this world, we actually, it's like if you imagine like a portal, right? From heaven or cosmos or the universe, however you feel into that, and you come into the earth, you move through this portal into density. Before that, you weren't dense at all. Like it's all knowing, it's all consciousness, it's unity, right? It's just pure love, bliss. So you come into density to have this experience of density. And so it's actually, when I speak of astrology, I speak of this because it's really easy to basically play out the lower frequencies of any of the signs, right? Or any of the energies of astrology. That's just ease. Like we can do that because we're vibrating in a dense world, right? We're vibrating in a dualistic world. It has shadow and light. Because if it was all light, we wouldn't have the density, right?
mm,
So, so when you come in and you realize that the density is easy, but when you put intention into activating the density for the light, you start to realize that everything in your world came in for a purpose. All of the experiences, your family, your parents, those friends that like hurt you, or whatever, like the hurts that you've been through, they were actually messages. They were like little messengers for you to clear that density, and then the light is. But
mm,
most of us in that space of scarcity and victim consciousness, we we kind of accelerate the density because we take the density on and we fear it. And so by fearing it, we're basically coming up against it and then we're living from it instead of using it as the invitation for the light. And this is a big one with parents, right? Because that we'll have a lot of victim consciousness with our parents, like because we take on so much of their programming and their wounds from the time that we're in the womb until 7 years old. Like that's the major imprint time. So we're like that's density we're swimming throughout most of our life. Well, it becomes this dissonance because we're blaming them instead of seeing them as the messenger that came in for the density that we said yes to before we came into the portal. We're like, yep, I'll do that density, I'll do that shadow, I'll do that pain, and it's up to me, right? This is the free will. It's up to my free will to remember that I have all of the tools to actually activate it into light. But because
mm.
we're on that side of scarcity or victim consciousness, we can't transcend to see that there's an expansion or abundance through it. Does that make sense?
100%. Yes,
Feeling it?
it's making sense to me. I'm actually reminded of I was at Burning Man one year and there's a big sign that says your triggers are the guide.
Hmm.
And I remember how that felt when I first saw it because I just felt like it was like a oof moment. It was, oh, yeah. What is my trigger? How is that trigger guiding me into an answer, a place that I need to look at within myself
Yeah.
versus, I think it's really easy to instead with a trigger to project it out and then point
Hmm.
the finger instead of alchemizing it into our own lesson or even as you're saying it into light. And
Yeah.
so that's real. I feel that. I hope you guys are also like, whoa, yes, please. That's medicine for my soul.
Yeah. Well, this is so perfect what you said because I actually just had a master class, and in the master class, it was called Inevitable. Your inner freedom was never meant to be circumstantial, it was designed to be inevitable. Now, we can start to look at beliefs because this is where the fracture comes in. When we start to separate ourselves out when we're young, I'll just say it right now, just to do another mic drop. If you haven't heard this, you're going to be like, what? So the education got your mind, the education system, the medical system got your body, religion got your soul, and science got your energy,
Girl,
right?
laying them down.
You know what
That
I'm
I've
saying?
actually never heard that before.
Yeah. So that's, and I had never heard science. That came through me. That was a channel through me, but I had heard the other three at some
Okay.
point in my life. And then I suddenly, it just like I was doing a class or something and I was like, wait a second, science got our freaking energy. Because science told us we had to have some formula or we had to see proof of energy before we could believe it. And wow, has that delayed us for
And now
centuries?
they're proving that that's not true,
Right. You
you
know what
know?
I'm saying? But look at how long that's kept
Yeah.
us like, no, tell me it's like I have to
Give me
see
the
it to believe
facts.
it. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of believe it to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it's really like when you start to look at what are my beliefs around this, I'm going to give you one more like if you can find your way here, your life will be like just on the acceleration train, right? If you realize that you are the greatest healer that has ever walked this earth for yourself and that nobody else came in to do that for you, your triggers will transform into gold from there. Yes. Eh.
I mean, that's I mean, I'll bring his name into Yeshua. Like that's the
Mhm.
path. Mary, a lot of these ascended masters that brought
Mhm.
in this consciousness that they knew they could heal through intense alchemical, magic and intention and working with energy.
Mhm.
It's not separate from what we're capable of. We
It's the
are
example. It's the
exact.
freaking
Oof.
example.
Yes, it's the example.
But we made it some deity away from us. So it created that separation between us and them. And this takes me back to when I was a star seed coming in. And
Mm.
I mean, I was separated from my mother. I was adopted. I was put into this like
Oh,
whole
wow.
space that I couldn't even see myself in, but yet I knew we could levitate. I knew that we were the miracles. I knew we were divine. And that's that unity consciousness. So they were all living from unity consciousness and not being pulled apart by the division agenda. I'm going to add agenda
Yep.
because when you can find your way there, guess what's there? Sovereignty. And
Sovereignty.
that's where we're going, right? We're going into these deep
Mhm.
places of self-love, of sovereignty, of that inner fortress within, that inner home within, which is, your massive jam. And
Yes.
when you have that, nobody can touch you.
No, it's like the way that I have found home, not only within my outset, because I was a nomad traveling around for many years
Me
and
too,
still
baby.
teaching, still slaying the feng shui game,
Yeah.
but healing, whatever. But it was more about that what I realized was yes, my home is important and is an extension of me, but ultimately the biggest opportunity I have to feng shui and to find peace and harmony within is this vessel, this body, this temple that I am, because that's the OG home,
Yeah.
and that has been where feng shui comes in, where it's just like the inner creates the outer. So
Yeah.
it literally always starts right here in this place, in this body, in this mind, body, soul. temple. And so I really encourage like anybody that maybe is listening and feels like a little triggered, maybe even by just this conversation or just the invitation to turn your trigger into the light or turn it into something that can bring you back home to yourself, really.
So
That's it.
something just came through with that as you were talking about if you're feeling a little activated, if you're feeling confronted by this, I want you to really sit with where is that coming from? Because this distinction is actually going to just be your best guide, your best medicine. Because if you are feeling that, it's because you've been functioning from the egoic mind because the egoic mind doesn't live in unity consciousness. The egoic mind lives in that division, that separation, that power over or power between, right? Like I need this to happen, something outside of me, and then I'll feel okay.
Mm.
So what's like where do we want to be living from?
That
The
heart,
heart.
that beautiful heart space.
The heart space.
Yeah.
Literally, your inner freedom will be so freaking on point when you can actually transcend the egoic mind and you can allow people to have whatever it is, whatever their journey is, right? Maybe their free will not decide to move on to the path of soul growth in this lifetime. Maybe they're not meant to stay in your life anymore. Maybe it's like the evolution is supposed to come. Like there are so many paths and possibilities. Timelines are all available. We decide what our observed reality is going to be by the timeline that we choose. And so, living from the heart actually will shift the external by living from the internal, right? This is the holographic universe. Everything is a reflection for you. It's never about them. It's always about you. Do you so choose it? That's the healer from within. The healer from within will allow themselves to move through the feeling, the emotion, even the pain, because we're meant to actually move through pain. We're not meant to solidify it. We're not meant to suffer in it. We're meant to flow and feel. And that actually increases our frequency and vibration, right? That we start to emanate out into the world. But again, when we're fractured, that flow can't happen in that beautiful, easeful way that humans are meant to come in. And I mean,
Mm.
Nixie, when you talk about home, right? Home from within, and then wherever you land, you'll create it around you. I also feel like, tell me how you feel about this, but home is also not just like, it's also the environment, like the people you surround yourself with as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some of
Yeah.
the most successful people, mentors, you name it, they know and they speak the importance of surrounding yourself with a successful environment. And that means also the people that you surround yourself with. If
Mhm.
you're hanging out with people who are speaking words that come from a place of victimhood, from lack, from not enoughness, what are you going to absorb? That same frequency. You can be the light. You can definitely alchemize energy and change that story and operate from that place of abundance and support others in changing that. I've definitely had moments where I catch myself, my friends catch me, and we have that caliber where it's like, hey, I notice you say this. Like, how about we say we get to instead? Or, I notice you're saying like I can't afford that a lot. Like, let me just invite you into shifting that. And that's the type of people that I've invited into my world, and they stay and we support each other. But if you're in a space where there's a lot of that toxic energy from, it's not even necessarily toxic. I think that's actually quite dense to say. It's just the frequency that might not be an aligned match for your success, your inevitable, the timeline in which you get to choose that is finding that place of alignment, because when we're out of alignment, usually we start to attract this energy around us that's not on the same trajectory of what we truly desire and what we know that our soul is here to experience. So
And you
that's
act,
kind of my take on it, and I think that a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people about this because there's a lot of situations where they can't get out of, maybe they live with somebody who is constantly negative,
Mhm.
and is constantly bringing the vibe down. And there's not really an option out, and it's hard and it's not something that it's like a privilege to be able to be in that space. But I think that what I always come back to is work on yourself, change your words, change everything, like work on the inner body and that inner space, because then what happens is you literally almost vibrate yourself out of that narrative, So that's my take on that. I have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And the thing is, when you start to shift, you're just as powerful as they are. So if your words are coming from a super aligned place, right? If they are a higher frequency, there and they keep going, like your environment keeps going in the negativity, and you can actually hold yourself through that and not get dysregulated in those moments, they will actually start to shift in their energy, right? Just here's where I love this when we realize this, the highest conviction wins. So if you really believe what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, like you believe it in your heart and your cells, you're not forcing it in your mind, which affirmation sometimes can be forced in the mind, right? So you've got to find your way into the belief in the cells and the heart. And in that space, the highest conviction will win
Mm.
because nobody, was it Bad Bunny recently that said that love is the only thing more powerful than hate? So if you are, I'm sure many other people said it, I'm just bringing that in because that was recent. But if you are actually vibrating in that love frequency and you can hold yourself in that strength, it will start emanating out and you will start seeing and feeling people shift all around you because our innate language is energy. It's not our words. It's energy. And that's what I work with, like on a deep cellular level. Because when you can allow the thing that comes in to guide you, which is a dysregulated nervous system, when you start to have a dysregulated nervous system over and over, that's literally the messages coming in and telling you that this isn't a supportive environment, this
Yep.
isn't right for you.
Yep.
And we get overwhelmed because we want the immediate result out. And from here to there, feels too much. It feels like too much to do, especially on our own because we've been isolated. But when you can take one step, when you can do one thing, right? When you can just start to open that path and let the energy build in the path from there, you're not doing this alone. Like, this is such a
No.
beautifully co created divine experience. But in isolation, we believe that and control and stress, we believe we have to figure it all out. And that becomes too overwhelming. So if you can find your way into like one little miracle or one person that shows up and offers you like support or love or a hand or whatever it is, or you know what I mean? Like, just let it be more simple and less overcomplicated, but let that dysregulation tell you something and you believe it this time because you've been denying it for too long and you've convinced yourself that it doesn't matter.
I want to pull out that phrase that you said about the highest conviction wins because I'm just like marinating in that statement. And it had me think about the belief that you speak on, which is how powerful belief is. And that when you believe in yourself, that becomes the strongest conviction first.
Mhm.
And when you believe in yourself and you have that strength of knowing, inner knowing, like anything is possible because you believe in your capabilities, in your mastery, in your light, in your word, in your prayer, whatever that is, like when you step into any space and you have that belief within yourself, you literally become unstoppable. Like that's the highest form of, I think, self love and divinity that we can truly alchemize within our reality and be and embody. And that's how we create this high vibe home because it's not just this external world that we're trying to by material things, show like, oh, I'm so high vibe, or oh, I'm so like I'm vibrating on this space, and I believe in myself. Look, it's actually like it's a way of being, it's a way of
Yeah.
coding and kind of coming back to understanding this like cellular liberation that you speak on. Like that's what I feel like you are putting down on the table.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Here's the deal is that I'm like fired up. Talk about fire
Yeah.
coming in. The
Yeah.
deal is that we have gathered so much evidence of not going all in on ourselves that we've convinced ourselves away from that, right? But really all it takes is like that one time and then that next time and then that next time, right? If you can step yourself into this and get even those little wins that you start to compound, then that creates the new neural pathway and you keep focusing your energy and attention on that, right? And it's almost like as we're speaking of home, it's funny. I was just sitting with this with you and I because we've both been nomadic and, we change locations, things like that. And every time when I leave a space, I'm like, I know that wherever space I'm in, I have no doubt that I can create the most warm, loving, beautiful, like cocoon feeling. I did it in my van. I lived in my van for a year and a half, and I love that place. Like, I miss it. When I get back in there, I'm like, oh, I love this so much. So it's like when you can let go of the rules kind of or the structure that it has to be a certain way and you start creating it no matter where you are, then you do gather more evidence for that power and that belief of you. It comes from you. It's not about this, like, what am I trying to say, the stats or the specs or something like
Yeah, it's
that.
just about like I think the material, like what it looks like on the outside or what, society tells us like is successful and what that home should look like. Or I don't know, I think that what you're speaking to also just in a simple way is just being you and putting what you love in your space. Like what do you love? Put it there. Take a piece of your home wherever you go. And I think that's just kind of circling back to this like belief in the self, because when we know who we are, when we believe in ourselves, then we don't get dismantled by anything else because we're so rooted deeply in the space of our home that we know who we are so viscerally that nothing, like, we're unstoppable, we're untouchable, we're invincible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love
Which,
self-love so
yeah,
much.
and
Like
we
it's my favorite.
yeah, and I think that really kind of comes into this like conversation with this big year of change that we're going to see and we're feeling already. We're recording this in like mid-February and there's some big transitions coming in. And I'm already feeling them. I know you and I, before we started pressing record, we're already talking about like, wow, things are happening really fast. And we're getting a little prelude of that fire year, the horse year. And I know that you, as an astrologer, you have some other insight, with what's going down. I mean, we've got February 17th. This should come out before that. If it's after, you all have already felt it by now, but we're still going to have that like post energy. But really, I mean, that day is really auspicious. It's got a lot of really potent energy. So I'd love to hear you talk about some of the shifts that, not only we're talking about right now, but how the shifts that we're speaking to are kind of going to become maybe a little more embodied, or how they kind of, we see these trends, coming in for this type of year that's going to bring a big change in, I think, our environment too, not just our space and how we show up, but also the external.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so much is falling away, in this last year, you keep talking about the shedding. And this is the reality is when you can shift, like truly shift out of scarcity consciousness and into abundance consciousness, basically when you realize that this experience is temporary and you stand in like the majesty of that and you live from abundance consciousness, you stop stopping yourself, right? You actually follow that innate guidance and you do the thing that you doesn't make sense to your mind, which is exactly where we're going, especially in these February shifts. You do the
Mm,
thing that doesn't make sense because the guidance is the heart is telling you, even though your mind's like, yeah, but I don't have any evidence for success on this yet. I'm in it right
mm,
now, babe. I think I'm leaving social
ooh,
media. And
ooh,
like it's landing really deeply for me because I'm like, wow, I suddenly see how it hasn't felt whole for me. It hasn't felt like this great, warm, nurturing space. Like I've spent a lot of time there. I do all these reels. I try to say it the right way that how I'm like, "Blah." Like that's just, I'm like, I don't even want that anymore. I want
Yeah.
this. I
Yeah.
want these
Totally.
conversations. I want like more long form. I want more presence and I
Mm,
want more connection. Even if it's like
mm,
I connect with every person that steps into my world instead of getting like 100 new followers that I never connect with. Like I want that. And that's really this Aquarius signature that is activating. We're in the next layer. So, we're going to talk about February, but we're leaving the age of Pisces and we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And this, I feel like February is actually like, okay, now you're going to feel it even deeper, right? And so, the Aquarius solar eclipse, the annular solar eclipse, which is a ring of fire is coming February 17th, which is the same day
wow.
as
The fire horse comes in.
the fire
I
horse
didn't
comes
even
in.
realize and put that. I've been so focused on the like astrology from the zodiacs that I didn't even think and realize that we're having a ring of fire eclipse. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me right now?
Yeah.
You just can't
And
make
I
sense to
know,
me.
right? Yeah. And that happens right before this historical Saturn Neptune conjunction in 0 degrees of Aries, which is the very beginning of the astrological wheel, right? And so that is like when you think about 0 degrees of Aries, and I can speak to this really well because I'm all kinds of freaking Aries.
Yeah.
It's when you come into the
Of course.
world.
I'm literally an Aries magnet, so I get it.
What's your sign?
I'm a Sag.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, of
Yeah, I
course.
get it.
That's why you're traveling around. Yeah, I got it. My North Node's in Sag. Okay. So you come into the
Yeah.
world, right? When I talked about that portal that you come in and you come in worthy. You come in healed, you come in whole, you come in like as the person that deserves all the love in the world. None of that has ever changed. But
Yeah.
then we get hit with all this density and we start absorbing everybody else's beliefs, wants, judgments, and that starts pushing, smashing down on that. And we start to form new beliefs that moves us off of the path. So when an Aries comes into the world, they are filterless. Like they are mavericks. They do it in a
Yeah.
way that nobody else has done it. It's like, oh, do this. Okay, done.
Yeah.
Like they just go. They don't
Yep.
wait. There's no wait. It's ruled by Mars. Mars is action and it's a fire sign
Yep.
and it's cardinal. So, cardinal actually takes the leap. So I feel like this is the leap energy that we've been kind of like, ooh, it's like we're playing with it a little bit. We're like, I'll take this little leap. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But we're not taking the big leap. For me, the big leap is like, yeah, am I going to shut Instagram down? I feel like I might. Like, I
Mm,
really feel like I might. It
mm,
feels good to me.
mm.
So if it feels good to me and my heart is saying yes, but my mind is like, yeah, but my whole business, I've been doing Instagram for this whole business, and that's my mind. So this is where we're going to start having this discernment. And you're going to start seeing it for what it is. You're going to start feeling the freedom that this is Aquarius, the freedom that wants to come through. And you're going to say yes to it this time instead of deny it because we're so used to denying that level of freedom because we don't see it outside of us. It's like, wait, nobody else has done it this way. Everybody else is doing it this way. So
Yep.
we just, you know what I mean? We just come into that energy, the collective energy. It's really easy to be in that and to be like, well, if it's successful for them, then it's got to be for me. That's not going to cut it anymore.
No.
Aquarius is so
Yes.
freaking unique. It's
Yes.
like you cannot do this in the way that anybody else has, and that's what's been keeping us fractured by trying to do it and trying to replicate, right? Like, is that like I have so
Yeah.
much more
I
to say,
mean,
but I want to pass the mic to you.
what I saw like in my vision when you were saying all that is we're actually like paving a new road as we walk it. It's like
Yeah,
we're like creating the yellow brick road. It might be purple one day. It might be like
yeah.
it's actually being created as we go, and that is really scary for many of us who have that. Well, at the end of the day, it's just scary in general for to chart a new path that no one has taken. And I'm very comfortable in that actually because I've done so many things now in my life where I've just thrown myself on into the discomfort. Let's sail the seas for 5 years, sure. Let's move to a country that you know nothing and no one, like that the big leaps, and I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend this morning, like the big leaps for me got are comfortable, but it's the
Mhm.
smaller ones, the day to day where the like challenges are, where it's like, ooh, the little story is coming up. I recognize this story. I know this one. This is the scarcity voice. This is the ego. This is the monkey mind. It's those little tiny ones that, as we work, I kind of see like, okay, we started building the road and we've got to lay down the next brick. And that, like, if you
Yeah.
break it down into micro steps, like that next brick, okay, then the brick kind of broke. It's not perfect. Now what do? We got to go get another brick. Okay, now we lay down that brick. And then there's another one. It's just this repetition of staying the course, of continuing to build the road, even though it's so hard and we don't know where it leads. And that to me feels very Aquarius energy because we
Yeah.
don't have the answers right now.
Yeah. Well, the answers, we do have the answers, but we don't have the answers in our mind, right? We don't have the answers based on what we've seen before. So
Yep.
the brick is going to have to go up, it's going to have to go sideways, it's going to have to go backwards, it's going to have to go, kitty cornered, like angled, like the brick cannot go forward. That's the thing. That's what we're shifting out of because we're so used to like, okay, just keep going, just keep going. It's like, nope, it's not going to work. What's freedom for you? Because if you keep laying it forward and your freedom is getting constricted, you're getting the message that
Mm,
you're supposed to do it in a way that nobody else has. So your brick has to go a different direction,
yep.
right? And that's like, so 2025, as we talk about in feng shui and as in the Chinese, it's the shedding, right?
Yep.
2026 to me is the year that we actually activate and embody presence and trust.
I love that. Yes.
Courage is coming too. That's the fire where the courage is coming because most of us by now that have been tuned in, we've been on this path, right? Like a lot of us have, like we're going to critical mass here, which is what, 3.33%, not very much. So we get the downloads, we get the messages, and then our mind is still, coming in and being like, yeah, but you've been doing it this way. Maybe just do it a little bit different. You know what I mean? Try it a little, like, ooh, just a little, right? Well, as we go into 2026, this is where we're going to start getting the message because we're so present and we have the trust of the message that we take that courageous action. And that's going to open all the other paths, timelines everywhere. So for me, I shut down Instagram. I know there's a timeline that's going to open massive. I stay in Instagram. I'm still plugged in the way that it's been, but I've already gotten the message that there's no freedom there for me. It has
Mm,
never felt like freedom, to be honest with you. But I've like contorted myself to find a way. I'm like, okay, now I like doing reels again. Okay, now I like doing stories again. And then it always comes back where it doesn't feel like freedom to me. This isn't true for everyone. This is for me personally. But I will say that social media has a big thing to play in this with the age of Aquarius getting activated. So if you like, not if, when you can really embody this, the trust, right? Trusting the energy, being present to receive it and taking the courageous action, you're going to have the momentum of all this fire coming in. 2027, are you ready? Should we do a drum roll again? Is the ascent. The ascent. That's the unity consciousness. You won't be plugged in to the power struggle anymore. How you show up in 2026 will offer that timeline, for lack of a better word, but offer the growth of that. Like offer it's kind of like offering it on a platter for you, but you have to do this work in order to receive it. Not everyone will feel the ascent. Some people will go deeper into their scarcity, into their anger, into their wounds, and they're for sure not going to feel it. And they're going to they're the ones that will keep showing the shadow until
yep.
the shadow is like there's no more to be shown. And we go into the critical mass, right? The butterfly effect, the ripple effect of 3.33%. And then suddenly we're observing a new reality. I mean, honestly, it might sound to some of you, you'll be like, I don't believe it because you don't have evidence, right?
Yes.
But that's where we have to get into the faith, the devotion. We have to get into the way of life because then you start believing what you don't see. I'm here to show people what they have not experienced before. So if I'm on stage and I'm levitating, your cells remember. Your cells remember that you are here to levitate too. But we've got to be able to bridge that where we don't have to see it, where we can believe in the miracles. When we have the portal, that's our wholeness and alignment. Because when we are fully aligned and we are fully love for this experience, love for saying yes to the hair, the nose, the eyes, with the voice, the whatever, the parents, that's the freaking portal. We're the ones that actually create the portal where the miracles show up. And it's happening in 2026, babe. Like,
Mm,
do you feel it?
yes, I feel it, girl. It's interesting you brought up 2027 because that's going to be a fire goat year. And in Chinese astrology, like goats tend to be like years that like when we like flourish and
Mm.
have a lot of creativity. So I also love like looking at the trajectory of like what you're saying that this year of the horse is going to be kind of like where we almost like embody that way of what we shed in the shedding snake year and then we flourish in a goat year. I mean all of the things that we look at is generally just the energy of it, you know? So I think that we have a lot of really powerful opportunities to just live more in alignment and like you're speaking to this like light body, really tapping into that light body, following what's more in harmonious alignment with ourselves and like what we really love and what really is important right now. You know, what's really important to you? Not not the like shiny object Mercedes Benz. Like I know that's fun, you know, but what's really important right now? Like just kind of getting down to the simplicity because in years I think that we have like we're going to see a lot of like revolutionary change. I think this we're already seeing it. It's already happening. Things are crumbling. You know, there's just a lot of that energy in the space in the collective. And I think when we're in that space, when we tend to our inner garden, when we just focus on what matters, that's how we thrive and come out of this fully embodied in our highest sovereign selves.
Absolutely. There's something that I want to add about, as things are crumbling, because we are getting hypnotized constantly with the fear, right? We're getting pounded with it. And somebody said this, I saw it on social media and I was like, yeah, that rang so true. You were never meant to hold the world's problems,
Mm-mm.
but yet you plug in and you're
Mm-hmm.
absorbing the world's problems. And
Mm-hmm.
that is overwhelming for our little extension, this little body to actually hold within it. So I just want you to really sit with this as things crumble because they have to. They weren't working, right? Like there was an
Mm-hmm.
illusion. That's the age of Pisces, is the illusion or the delusion. And so you came to do this work. You came to be the bridge. And if you really say yes to that and embody that, that's where that self-love comes in. But also, as they crumble, if you start to plug into that and you start to join the fear narrative and you start to believe whatever, there's not going to be enough, like not enough money, not enough resources, not enough blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And you're coming back. If you're fighting the system from within it, you will exhaust yourself because that system was made to bend and not break. It was made to only give you enough reprieve to feel like you've won, and then it'll swing back and then it'll get you exhausted, right? Like if you look at history, you'll see this happen for
Yep.
people. So notice when you're when you are doing your soul medicine, your soul work, and if it's to change this system, what do you believe? Do you believe that system is going to continue? Because if you do, you're fighting it from within and you'll exhaust yourself. If you start to believe that that system no longer gets to have power because the power's coming back to the people, and you start looking at what you desire to see for our reality, you'll be amazed at how fast that system will go and how fast a new one that's made from benevolence, from love in humanity, for care, for sentient beings, for an energetic coherence will come up.
Mhm.
That's the miracle. But do you believe it? Not just think it. Do you believe it? Because I believe it without a doubt. Like I want to experience it in this body, which is why I'm out here, shouting off the mountaintop, right? That's why we're doing our soul medicine. And the world needs your soul medicine. And so just really sit with yourself with that. Because if
Right.
you exhaust yourself, they're doing their job. But if you
Right.
start to live from what's possible and what you desire, then you start working in the energy. Yes, yum, 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 yum.
Well, and energy is literally what we are. We're made of energy.
Yep.
Everything around us is made of energy. And I think that we have definitely fallen a little astray as we've spoken here on that truth that energy is always needing to be in motion. We can also alchemize that energy and transmute it into what we desire. And to just like leave us on the same thread of the note, but like when we bring in the love energy, the love vibration, that love space, when you're in love with yourself and speaking to what you shared about the power of your belief, like when you add love to that, again, we're back to being invincible, unstoppable, and co creating a new world where a lot of us here are not meant to deal with the world's problems, nor are we meant to sit and dwell in them.
Right.
We are here to co create a new future. What does that look like? It starts with believing that it's possible, I think, for sure, and collaborating, getting in on the conversation. Again, that feels like Aquarius energy to me. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's very Aquarius.
It absolutely is. And I want to add one thing to when you say bringing that love in, bring grief in too. You
Mm.
will grieve because you're meant to. When you let go of what you're shedding, allow yourself to grieve it. Do not bypass that because grief is
Mm.
actually one of the most transcendent states that we have. Grief and love are one and the same.
Oof.
And if we try to stay away from the grief, then we actually start blocking ourselves. But
Wow.
when you can say, yeah, I'm going to grieve this because it's no longer for me and I'm evolving into something else because I'm energy, and when you allow the grief to open you up beyond the veil into the higher dimensions, guess what happens there? More freaking messages, more guidance, and then the bricks start coming in. So that felt really important to bring that in. I've been talking a lot about this because I walk people through grief. I actually was just a death doula this weekend, and it was one of the honors of my life. And this is real humanity, right? And
Yeah.
so I feel like I see both of us as kind of a kundalini snake right now, like you and I bringing the grief and love together and how they
Mhm.
are one and the same, and they are both so freaking powerful. And that is where you really stand in the majesty of the healer that you are, of the inner freedom that you are, because you don't fear a feeling or emotion that you're literally here to express.
Oh, girl, I'm so grateful you brought that into the space because I didn't have a good relationship with grief because I never had allowed myself to feel the depths of loss that I could have allowed myself to feel when my life kind of dismantled when I was 18 and my parents' divorce. And then going through mine and the grief and the year I just had my year of grief. So I'm sitting here on the other side now, totally understanding what you're saying. Because before that, I really didn't understand what grief was. I didn't understand the process. I definitely felt like I bypassed a lot of loss in my life just to
Mhm.
everything's fine, move on. But what you just laid down, the potency of what comes after that grief and allowing yourself to really feel it. Wow. It is
Mm.
incredibly liberating because our bodies really aren't meant to hold that grief. And I haven't cried. and I haven't shared really much on the podcast about what has been going on in my personal life, but I think, you're getting little tidbits here. But at the same time, it was just like I needed to cry for so many days, weeks, months. I gave myself pretty much all of 2025 to really grieve and to
Mhm.
not just grieve my former life, my relationship, but my identity, who I was in
Yes.
all of that. And also the grieving of why I allowed certain things, into my environment, even though I knew, even though I knew my body, all those things. So grief is a powerful portal, and I really appreciate you bringing that in because it just adds that layer of humanity of like I see you, you're navigating through something, and it's important because we don't as a society, death, grief, sadness, emotion, all of those things have been suppressed.
Yeah. And they're living, that's the imprints in your cells that I'm talking about. And once
Mm-hmm.
you unlock that and you truly feel it, you feel it at that, I like saying this, like that sacred humanity level, then you start to realize why we're actually here. And it's not all the
Yeah.
bullshit that we have created in this culture. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
we've got a lot of that going on, and that's not it. As I sat with, this person who left his body this weekend and moved to spirit, and I connected with him and I shared his messages with his family. Had I not been there, they would have been in a different state of grief. But because I was there and they heard the messages and all these things started happening around us based on the messages, they realize now how powerful they are. Not how powerful I am, how powerful they are. Right. And so this is how we start rippling out sacred humanity, bringing us back. So, I mean, the last thing that I want to say based on what, as you were sharing, is this comes back to the environment. You've got to do everything in your power to create an environment around you that holds you in witness and unconditioned, right? That can witness your grief, that can witness your process, that doesn't aid it, or that doesn't what's that, enable it, but actually
Mm,
just hold it so
hold
you
it.
can move
Mm-hmm.
through it. And that's, I think that's why both of us do the jobs that we do, like our soul medicine that we have, because we can, because that's what we're here for. And this is where investing in yourself is the best ROI you'll ever do, because the ROI you get is a life that is so freaking on fire and exquisite, no matter what, like, no matter what the bank account looks like, no matter what's happening in the government or politics or what, you know what I mean? You get to have this. I don't care what's happening or what era you came in to go through. That's the inner freedom.
Oh, sister, you nailed it. Yes. I mean, I don't even need to say anything. That's it. That's it right there.
Yeah.
And yes, because also, and when you have that safe space and the environment around you is safe and you can let yourself go, the liberation that comes after those moments where you've fallen down to the floor and you've crumbled to the point of like, that's why we call it a dark night of the soul or an ego death or all these things, because there is a part of you that dies.
Yeah.
And we don't honor that. We don't honor that in the world, but that safe space that you create in your environment, I mean, that's how we're going to heal, and that's how we're going to get through this. That's how we're going to grow and evolve and like you speak to, become these light bodies and embrace that fully, and wake people up. And whoo, girl, yes, please. Thank you so much. This has been wow. I mean, I think we could keep talking forever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll be here for another couple hours, guys. But that's why we're podcast swapping. I'm gonna be on her podcast too.
Yes,
So
yes. Then
just
we'll come over.
let's go. Um, wow, Lori. Well, I mean, this has been incredible. We went to so many different lengths, and I think that what I'm certainly taking away from your medicine and your soul medicine is to believe in myself, turn my triggers into gold,
Mhm.
and to just decide ultimately that the density that you speak on, all these dense spaces, the nervous system dysregulation, like just decide that the priority for me is to stay in the light, to stay in the light and honor the times when I need to grieve and honor the spaces when I need to feel, and that those help alchemize who I really get to be in my soul medicine. So thank you. I think other people are agreeing with me on that one. Am I right? And the crowd goes wild.
I mean, yeah, it's really just about listening. It's about listening to your energy and listening to the messages that come through and letting yourself, you know, your energy, your emotional intelligence, and your environment become your execution, like your divine execution, your divine design. Like that's a simplified way to say it. But if people want to like kind of like how, what's the how of this? I'm giving you like three ways to get into that divine execution that's going to hold you no matter what. Right. So I hope that that helps. And
Yeah,
Nixie, this has been such a joy, such an honor. Like, I love getting together with a fellow fire sister because I'm like, yeah, let's go. I just like get turned
totally.
on. And it's like,
Yes. We're bringing the fire to you. Lori and Nixie today brought you the fire in the year of the fire horse. So get out there and go. When I think of the fire, I'm just like, be the light. Stand in your light, stand in your brightness, be
Yeah.
the flame, be the torchbearer.
Yeah.
I keep saying I'm claiming it to be the unicorn year because what are horses without? They just, they're missing that little unicorn. And we all get to embrace a unicorn year after that shedding,
Oh,
be a
yes.
magical being. Who says you gotta hide in that closet with that broomstick? Like, come out,
Yeah.
let's go. It's our time to shine, right? Lori,
Heck
where
yes.
where where can everyone find you if you're not going to be on social media? I mean, where are we going to go? Where are we going to find Lori?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, let's see what happens with this eclipse. I'm sure I'll be on Substack. My book
I'm
is going to be
loving
coming
Substack.
out. Yeah, my book's going
Yeah.
to be coming out hopefully this month. Um, I know, I was excited. My website is you can either go to lorirising.com or the rawandwildhearts.com. That's my podcast, The Raw and Wild Hearts. I think I'll probably stay on YouTube for longer form content. I'll stay with the podcast. I'll probably move over to Substack. But honestly, I would just say you can get on my social media. It's The Raw and Wild Hearts or Lori Rising. But just come into my world. I actually have this really awesome free private podcast. Can I share that?
Yes, we'll put it in the show notes for sure. I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah.
oh my gosh, it just came. We spoke about it
Yeah.
actually. It just came out a couple weeks ago, and I'm like so lit up by this.
Yeah.
It's like the activation for where we're going. It's called the channel activation, and
Ooh.
it's a 7 day private podcast, but there's like nine drops, nine episodes. And I know that this will be the new portal for you if you're kind of feeling like I hear what they're saying, but I can't apply it because I'm still living from like kind of that
Mm.
dissonance or that struggle within. Get into this private podcast. I'm sure Nixie has some incredible offers as well. Like, take people up on their free offers and let that lead you. Let that be your first step and stop letting your scarcity of time, resources, energy, money, whatever it is, stop letting that stop you,
Mm.
right? Take that step, make that leap, feel it in your heart, and follow through. So yeah, if you're interested in the channel activation private podcast, it's free, and I'll give Nixie the link. But I hope to see you
Amazing.
in my world for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And on the note of social media too, just to kind of close this out, I did put on my Substack, one of my predictions is that Substack's going to take over 2026. So if you're not on Substack, I highly recommend you jumping over there. I'm on there now. Lori's there. It's such a beautiful space because I think we all are a little over the like quick fix, the lack of depth going on
Yeah,
there. And that's why I'm back on the
yeah.
podcast too. So I'm feeling your drift. You're right on time. And for those of you that have been sitting through this conversation with us, thank you for being here. And if you're at the very end, you're just incredible for staying with us this whole time because we definitely went to many different layers of the onion. And I appreciate you being here. So if you loved the show, share it with a fellow friend, bestie, lover, partner. that needs to hear this right now, give us a rating and review over on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. I'm the reason I actually love Instagram is actually because of the DMs. I love being in my DMs and I'm always there. So I'm there for you. Nixie_Marie. And of course, we'll be back for more episodes very soon. Thank you all again for being here. I'll see ya on the other side. Bye for now, everyone.